Just call me Chicken Man. I'm a AOE there. Well, I believe in AOE. Yeah, there are a lot. There are a lot, and I think a lot of this happened because a guy made a post about Mugwell. You've probably heard this from all those theory videos. He basically said that there were a lot of similarities between that you call it a video game that ECM used to play and Attack on Titan in terms of dialogue and thought lines. And from there, people started just going on and on about, oh, multiple timelines, all of this. I think that's true. I think he did take inspiration, but I don't think he's going to do strip off of that story. I think the original, well, the theory I believe in is that it's there's the manga timeline, which has one ending, and then based off of what happens in the manga timeline, it spurs a new ending in the anime timeline. And the evidence, most biggest piece of evidence is in the first episode, being changed. And the second one is Falcon Launch. I think those two are like strong pieces of evidence, just because like it's no speculation. It's like, well, one in the manga, it's different from the anime, and the dream, yeah, yeah, right, right, true, right, right, yeah. So like that's the thing. So I agree with you. There is a set timeline, and Aaron's actions after are set in stone because of the deaths, right? His actions are influenced by his, and so the story of AOT, it's looping over itself. So it's the same thing happening over and over again. However, it can change if you have something from the outside, something external come in. And that's why we think that the dream is different. See, so so like okay, so suppose there's a timeline and the two iterations. The one is whatever the story is right now, and then there's a second iteration. Now, if a memory after Aaron's to go and Aaron remembers or sees that memory after his death of what happens to, let's say, Paradise, that might change his actions. So that's where the theory comes that the dream itself is the destruction of Paradise, Because it doesn't make sense. How would we get those memories? He's not a Titan shifter, right? So he can't use the previous user. Right, he can't. Well, he's the Eldian, so someone has to give him that memory. That's one theory. And to be fair, we don't actually know what sent that memory back, but we do know that it looks like the destruction of paradise, right? We see like Titans coming about and destroying everything. Hmm? Who? No, I don't know who that is. Oh, well, I don't know who that is. But anyway. Oh, I thought you said, are you friends with Child Beagle or something? Oh, the song. Yeah. No, I'm referring to like the dream where, well, yes, that I think people do get the impression of that being Paradise Destroyed. But I don't think so because it's like it's not advanced. Paradise was destroyed. You saw the skyscraper, everything, and this doesn't look like destruction. It looks like it was abandoned. It was abandoned. Oh, that's he left. Oh, he's there. No, I see him. Right. So like if you look at the ending, it's not destruction. It's like it was abandoned, right? So that's the thing. Like that's a little weird. That's different from what happens in the manga, right? It's almost like manga. Well, no, there's development, right? Yeah.
You guys should be able to hear me now. So, yep. Can you hear me? How about now? Cool, cool. It's good. I'm down to debate. I was gonna maybe listen in first. I don't want to get like I don't want to dogpile you or anything. So
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
Actually, we don't really like the. I personally don't really like the story. I like the artwork. The story itself is like, it's weird.
Here's the thing: A&R and AOT are different things. Because AOT&R is the fan fiction, A&R is the fan theory, which the fan
Yeah,
fiction is based off of.
yeah,
You know, I didn't really like it, but I do honestly think that the Aaron Armin conversation was better than nine. It still wasn't good in my opinion, but right. Yes.
yeah, yeah. I've seen those.
So people.
I was having issues with Discord,
Okay, got it.
with Mike. So Right. It was for a second.
Yeah, we see it.
Right. Oh, yeah. I don't see that.
No, yeah, no.
Right. Well, like, see, the thing is that the structures, the buildings are destroyed. That's not in the end. The ending, all the buildings there. And actually, if you look at the center building, it looks like immediately after uh, the invasion of paradise. Like the state of Shiganshina, it's immediately after that. It's not like it's almost like people just left right after the rumbling started.
That's true. In the ending, you don't see the same destruction as you see in the manga, where the buildings are literally just reduced to rubble. It's all most of the buildings are still there. It's just they've clearly decayed over time, and nature has overgrown. But the buildings are still there. There's no destruction as there is here. Buildings,
The buildings.
all the architecture. I'm comparing the ED to the manga. So the manga, the buildings are clearly destroyed.
Yeah.
Exactly. You should probably figure out a way to make Discord work. So it'll be less of a clusterfuck.
It'll be more of a clusterfuck.
Well, assuming the mods actually auto mute everybody, it'll be less chaotic.
Oh, I don't think that's Annie's crystal. I think isn't that the
Yeah, the ceiling's falling down.
it's concrete blocks.
There's like marble blocks on the ceiling. You see like how it's falling.
I think so. Yeah. You also want to look at like why this is basically what would this represent, right? Like this represents what the throne ruler of paradise, which was Historia. Why show that in ruins, right? I mean, people have to draw these scenes with meaning behind them because it takes what hours to draw each and every frame. They have to be very specific on what they draw and how they show it. So there's always like a meaning behind it. Yeah, yeah. Like this scene right here. Yeah, definitely. Yep. Well, what's it? Yeah. No, no, what's interesting is, in terms of like in the industry, no manga author is this involved with anime. None of them are. So that's what's interesting. Like they're there and they're usually like they kind of say, oh, I want it to be drawn this way or that way, but it's up to the director. Isayama is like he picks the artist, the My War artist, like he's a personal fan of his, right? Of Isayama. Um, the writers, they've been friends for a long time. So he's basically all these people in the anime studio. He's has a closer relationship with them than he does, I would say, the editors like the manga. That's just because from the interviews of people talking about him, so like interviews of his head editor and then interviews of like Hayashi, is like clearly a very different relation. He even said that he views manga as a rough draft, and anime is the final product. That's he said that. You can look it up. Uh, just look up. No, not canon, but like right, right, right.
Right.
So
Well,
like, yes,
well, there is a theory actually over that, and the first thing I wanted to mention is yes, there is a theory. So the fundamental like one of the main differences between the Aaron's plotline, there's a couple lines that rely on himself over his friends, and that fight scene is an example of that, where instead of relying on all the survey wording, yes, all of them. Right. Well, he left the fate. Well, let me put it this way: he left the fate of parody up to his friends instead of like putting. He did though.
yeah.
When he died, it was up to his friends to defend parody, and he had no control over what happened to him.
I think what he meant was keep the peace in the world.
Well, after he dies, there's no ruling. So what's stopping them from invading the island? And you see, they end up bombing it.
Look, I think
Well,
I
they have
think
no
he's-
navy, but I'm sure
I
they
think
still have boats.
he's referring to like in the future.
Well, look, that's why it takes so many years to counter and attack parody, right? It's so many years that had passed that parody was completely transformed, and they had stealth bombers that were flying over and mass bombing parody. So clearly, a lot of time had passed. Sure, yeah. So as I said, the reason is that's why so much time had passed in the manga, where they were using stealth bombers to bomb parody. So enough time had passed where they had recovered and technologically advanced.
Yeah. Well, even if you look at 139, that panel with Gabby pushing Levi, you see and that's clearly not a paradise. They're when Gabby is pushing Levi in a wheelchair. Yeah, when they're older.
And 130 in the
Levi with Falco.
When Gabby and Falco are pushing Levi in the wheelchair,
There's
in
a
like
plane.
wherever Marley and City they're at, there's a plane overhead.
So I mean, it's primitive, right? It's primitive, but like they can still advance. It's still a lot of 20% of the world. It's a lot of people still, and they will be able to advance. The outside world, yeah. I mean, they can build back. To be fair, it's a numbers game. The Paradise Island is maximum 1 million people. I mean, we know this because they. Oh yeah, I'll just finish the point. It was stated in the show that what was it? 1/5 of the population died trying to retake the land from the Titans after the initial Shanchina disaster, and they said it was 20,000. So, based on that, you can basically cap the number of citizens on Paradise as 1 million. 20% of the world, 1 million. In the, yeah, so in the show, when I think the second episode, third episode, when everyone, the first attempt to reclaim the land that was lost to the Titans, it ended up in failure. The narrator said that humanity lost 1/5 of the population, right? 20%. And then they also said an estimated 200,000 people would die. So, yeah, million people. Hmm. Right? I don't think you can actually put it in perspective in the real world because, in this way, Paradise is 1 million people. After 90 years, depending on, it's going to be maybe 5 million, 10 million. 20% of the world back then, based on like early 20th century, 20% was 400 million people. That the amount of people. Yeah,
Well, either way, it's 100 times more.
it's 100. Yeah,
AD.
yeah. It's a lot. It's 100 times more. So Paradise is at a disadvantage of technology because they have to reinvent from the beginning. Yes, they have. Well, they have to. Paradise is not technologically. No, Paradise. So it's not technologically advanced, right? They have to, like they said this in the anime. Kiyomi said this. Oh, was it in the anime? I think they cut the line out, but like she said, it would take 50 years to build infrastructure and education system to actually get them on par with the world at that moment, right? Forget about military technology. Well, I mean, well, I'm sure there were some people out of 200 million people that survived, 20%. I'm sure there were some engineers, scientists, some researchers. I mean, it's just a numbers game. It's 200 million versus 1 million. At that point, you really can't make an argument of, well, somehow those 1 million. It takes time, right? It was 9 years, right? I'm sure they could expand it.
Absolutely, they have a 90-year grudge.
So
Wait,
let me put it in a way that like is comparable to Aaron, right? Aaron saw his. Hold on.
there
Let
are
me get,
wars that last more than 90 years.
yeah, let me get you like the logic I'm going by. Aaron watched his mother die in front of him and had a hatred for the Titans there for the outside world. How many kids do you think watch their parents or their entire livelihood die? Right. Yeah. But that right. Okay. Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Okay. Right. Right. So yeah, I agree with you, but I don't think that's his goal. Aaron's goal is not peace; it's freedom. So let me give you an example. A civil war is freedom because the people of their own country decided to fight each other. But an invasion is not freedom. They did not freely invite an outside foreign invasion, a foreign entity to invade them. So peace and freedom cannot be equated to each other. Aaron's goal was freedom, not peace. So if he were to do 100% rumbling and paradise were to fall into civil war, he understands conflicts going to happen. That he wants paradise not free to make their own decisions and not be forced to by an outside group, the world, Marley, whatever. It's not peace he's going for, it's freedom. And there is a distinction that people kind of group those two things together, but they can't be separate.
And if I can add on to that, yes. So I just want to add on, like, think of it from his perspective. If he wants to be 100% sure that the people of Paradise deleted off the planet, which is his main concern really with the way Marley and the Mideast Alliance is treating Parity, right? There's the threat that Parity will basically be deleted from the planet. And so for him to secure freedom for Parity, he needs a 100% rumbling. And that's not going to eliminate all conflict, but it gives the Paradisians a chance to move on from the oppression that they've lived under for thousands of years. Not even thousands, I think it's hundreds, but still.
Right. Mm-hmm. But don't you think that also paints a target on their back? See, that was it paints a target on their back, right? That was the reason why certain countries wanted to invade Paradise in the first place for the resources, the ice stone. So it's not like it's someone else is here. So just yeah. Yeah, I think that's him. Yep, that's him. So yeah, so I was basically going on like Paradise's resources is a target on their head anytime. Like resources are like everyone wants them. So I don't think that's going to change. And like I was saying before, it's a numbers game. Because there's so little, instead of people the outside world respecting with them, they just might feel like they just want to take it.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, no,
I don't have
it's just
fucking webcam on.
this, yeah, this
Yeah, I
this
don't have
fucking
webcam.
this laptop that I'm using fucking shitty. Um Yeah, that headset be going a little. So we're debating AOE, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
so I'm sorry. I mean, I don't want to interrupt whoever was making a point just now, but
No, I'm finished.
okay. Why don't you believe in AOE?
Right. We're
Yeah, just give me like your general argument. Thank you. Right. What is he trying to tell us? What is Isayama trying to tell us? And how do you know this? Okay, but you mentioned that Aaron has 4 goals. What are those goals? Well, hold on. Hold on. I just want to interject real quick that I want the other three without having addressed this first. You saying was what? To make us lives? This? But wasn't the whole point of us to end the Titans? It was never about whether or not she lived. He said the result of her choice, and Armin confirms it in 139, was that the result of her choice would end the Titan curse. So it's not about Mikasa technically. It's about the choices she makes and the result it gives. So what do you have to answer to that? No, but he endangered her multiple times. Time skip. He against the Warhammer Titan. No. How could he have known that Mikasa would make that far and make that choice? He said he didn't know. He said I didn't know if any of you would live this fight. Okay, so he doesn't consider Mikasa a friend? Okay. Well, you're not gonna say oh Mikasa's shard was bigger, therefore cares more about her and her friends. And in fact, there's an actual panel. Hold on. Let me quickly respond before you can respond once I'm done. And Mikasa is among the friends panel. Aaron literally says, "I want my friends to live long, happy lives." She's among a bunch of characters, including dead ones, like Sasha, and later to be Hanji, and later to be Bok. I want my friends to live long, happy lives. So unless Mikasa is not her friend. Oh, Historia wasn't among those. I'm not saying right now that Historia is his love of his life or something. I'm saying, does he not consider Historia? She wasn't in that panel. He's saying Historia was one of his main motivation. Okay, but I thought Mikasa was his main motivation, and I thought that she was more than a friend. So why was she among a panel? But you said that Mikasa's her biggest motivation, and you also tried to claim to prove that she wasn't a friend. That's why Aaron claiming that I wouldn't know if my friends lived this fight in 139 doesn't apply to Mikasa, despite her being in the 130 panel for friends. Okay, so she is one of his friends, which he didn't know that would survive. Okay, but when did he know? Yes. I said, did he know? 20, or was it when he was kissing Historia's hand? Okay, but you understand that he had memories when he kissed Historia's hand, and he had memories when he entered the Founding Titan. So, when did he know Mikasa was yours? It's very unclear, but this is his biggest motivation, according to you. Okay, so more that saying, and he didn't care that choice.
No,
You're
that's
claiming right
saying-
now that Mikasa, her choice. You just said to me that he knew for a certainty that she would survive, she would make a choice, but you also claimed that he didn't know about the rest of his friends. So you're claiming not only is Mikasa not one of his friends, but that he doesn't care about them as much as she cares about her.
No, that's not what he's saying.
I agree with you. Sorry, could you repeat that last bit? $131, yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So I guess my biggest question to all of this is, how does this disprove an anime ending? Right? Okay, so what are the other 3 points? Right. Okay, but if I may interject on the second point real quick, it doesn't really make any sense in my opinion because your whole thing is he cared about his friends, including Armin and Historia. He cared about them a lot. He didn't care about them as much as Mikasa, according to you, but he did care about them enough to make them one of his primary motivations, right? Okay. Mikasa, who you may have an argument that he knew that Mikasa would at least make it to the very end. At the very least, he knew she would, right? He had no clue about the rest of them. For all he could have known, the bomb in Zachary, whatever his face's office, could have blown up Armin right there. For all he could have known, Jean or Connie could have died in Marley. Sasha did die. He knew it would happen. He was okay with that happening. Hanji did die on the way to. He knew Sasha would die, and he still moved forward. I'm not saying he was happy about it, but I'm saying he was okay to the point where he was willing to make that sacrifice. His second point is moot because he did not even protect them actively. Even his whole excuse about, oh, I don't want to take away your freedom. Okay, but I don't think
the argument here is that
please convey to him what I'm trying to say.
I think the argument here is that if he just wanted to protect his friends while the rumbling, he could have protected his friends. He could have, and that's it. 80% of humanity. If he wanted to, that means he's basically saying that his motivation was purely his friends. He didn't have to go with the rumbling. That's the rumbling. Right. So.
Okay. No. Basically, I think what he's trying to say is if number 2, which is probably the second highest on his list according to you, right? Mikasa's number 1, his friends are number 2. Why would he begin the rumbling and try to protect Parody or gain his own freedom if 2 priorities higher on the list would not need him to do that?
If the rumbling were to endanger his friends on higher priority than protecting Paris, then why would he do that? He would survive, as you said, but he didn't know if others would survive, like Ani or Levi.
Armin.
Well, Armin.
Yes, Armin.
Yes, Armin. And so why endanger them? Unless the argument can be made that he views the safety of Paradise more or less equivalent to the safety of his friends. So
Okay. What? Wait, sorry. Could you go back? You quoted the ED lyric. Even if I sacrifice everything, I will protect you. What are you trying to say about that? Okay, but who is he protecting? His line was directed towards Mikasa? Okay, so that's a headcanon. There's been other characters who have called the world cruel.
Okay. Well, let me actually go by your point.
Okay. No, listen. I'll let you finish your fourth. Finish all 4 points, then we can discuss it.
No, I'll go by your point of I'll sacrifice anything to protect you. Isn't that 138? The dream with Mikasa? I will sacrifice anything to protect you. He sacrificed his friends in Paradise to run away with Mikasa.
That is true. He did do that.
No,
That's not AoE. That's in the manga.
I'm saying that in 138, that dream was exactly that line. He regretted that decision. He regretted. He regretted. He
Wait, the thing is, Chicken, Beluga doesn't consider 138 to be an actual like timeline.
no, I'm not saying it as a timeline. I'm not saying it as a timeline. Okay.
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 Okay. Continue with your points. Hmm. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Well,
What is?
not Historia, but
Historia.
Arminius.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we agree. Sorry. Wait, did you actually say the party? Your mic was kind of cutting out. I couldn't catch that last part. Oh, okay. You didn't say it. Okay. No. Please continue.
I think.
Whoever the fourth guy was. Mm-hmm. Okay, but no,
Actually,
all of your points, but how do they disprove anime original ending?
I will say something about the last point. I think you are correct. I think it's a slightly misunderstanding. It's not sin that he views them. It's that they infringe on his freedom.
Yes, exactly.
The two people he killed. No, I don't think he was meaning that
Yeah,
by Ram.
I
I don't
don't
think he
think he
was
was
blaming
being.
Ramsey.
Yeah, I don't think he would speak to Ramsey with malice, and I think him breaking down and crying was him acknowledging that, like, yeah, it is fucked up that there will
This
be
is
people like yourself which will be caught up in the crossfire. People who
this
he
is
can relate to,
yeah.
people who lost their freedom just like he did. But the
But
situation that they're in is so completely fucked up, and
so
there's
like the rumbling itself, it's not like he wanted it. It's if you look at it, he's forced to do it. It's the only outcome. That's how Isayama wrote the story. Right.
well, is
Well,
that true though? Because he was looking for alternatives. He was
well,
looking for alternatives the whole time for the 4 year time skip. He was looking for alternatives.
I think what he meant by Armin's book is that he freed him. And it's
Yeah.
not that the people out there were people out there that had an issue with. It was that there were people out there.
Yeah. There's I'm pretty sure Yama spoke on where he spoke about Armin's viewpoint on the sea and those sites. Rather than no outside, because that's a contradiction. Because how would he explore on the outside world if he has destroyed literally all of them? No, but that's what? What does he say? He wanted to destroy the world outside the walls because he felt that was the only way. Whole philosophy was, and now I can tie this back to the who were gonna kidnap. He viewed them as animals who were infringing upon her. They were in the wrong, which I mean they were. There's no debating. They were in the wrong. They were sex traffickers. But for Aaron, yes, I will grant you that Aaron is not the most sane human being. Indeed, you have to be a little bit fucked up in the head to be able to carry out these acts. I'm not gonna say he was evil per se because he just happened to be the person who held the founding titan. I mean I disagree with that, but he didn't want to complete the rumbling because of what he saw in Armin's books. Armin's books only represented that he had the freedom to go to the world outside of these walls. The walls themselves kept him from sites themselves. No, it's not about humans outside the walls. It's about humans who were stopping him from being free. The entire world held parody is the root of all evil because it united them. It was a sign of interdependence. They make that very clear. They make it very much more clear when Kiyomi and the rest of the Asumi Buto were refusing to unite the world because they wanted to maintain a monopoly on their resources. Parody itself is a ticking time bomb. So for you to say that Aaron wanted to rumble the world outside the walls because there were humans in it, I personally believe that's asinine. I don't think that's true. He didn't say that. He did not say that I want to destroy the world outside the walls because it isn't exactly what I saw in Armin's book. He says it wasn't like the world I saw in Armin's books, and we already know what he feels to the sea. He felt nothing at all because he realized there was a world of. My point to you is he doesn't want the world to look like Armin's books. He wants to free see those sites in Armin's books. You said it? Yeah, he wants to destroy the world. He believes it is the only way to gain gold, not about a site in a book. I believe that his goal of freedom is all of your previous 3 points, previous 4 points. Sorry. You just said that he wanted to make the world like the world inside the wall. That means he does in fact. But we've heard multiple times that he. Okay. All right. You're saying he's a deep innate hatred for human beings.
So if you say it like that, you make him sound like. Well, when you write it like when you say it, like, you straight up a story. Like there's no.
He's Patrick Bateman, but like on steroids.
Yeah,
if you take your
basically.
opinion into account.
Okay, it's psychopath.
He's a
It's
psychopath.
complete psychopath, right? And
No, listen. Beluga, even your quote about 131, you're like, yeah, multiple times. Yeah, it wasn't like the World Armor's book, right? He doesn't actually say that it didn't look like Armin's book. He says the reality of life beyond the walls is nothing like the world I dreamed about. It was nothing like the world I'd seen in Armin. His point was it wasn't just some fast, free world that he could go and explore and do whatever he wanted in. He was living inside a literal bird cage. My point to you is he didn't want a rumble to go and eliminate human beings. He wanted a rumble to be free. Human beings existing at the walls had nothing to do with that because he makes it clear his words are reality outside the walls, not the world itself outside the walls. Reality being that Eldians will be fucking persecuted no matter where they are. Am I correct on that? No, he says it's a safety in that. When he says it's more than that, he's speaking about his own freedom. Yes, we're all in agreement here that Aaron's number one priority is freedom. Like I know you personally believe it to be Mikasa. Okay, but like even if you if there is some correct. One of your 4 points. Yep. For me.
yeah.
Right now, can you?